What is this? Section 6? Section 6. Let's talk about the top 20 ukulele chords in your handout. So if you've tripped over this and you don't have the handout, well, that's kind of tricky, ain't it? So I don't know what to do for you all, but welcome and shoot me a note and I'll send you a handout. How about them apples? So C, A minor, F, G7. That's the cornerstone, cornerstone of your ukulele playing. You got to master those. Those have got to be like rock solid, and they are your anchor. And then the top 20 is the entire foundation. Once you get the top 20, then you have the form and the types of chords that you're going to play. Even if you see a new chord, it is based off of the way you hold your fingers in the top 20. And you can say, oh, that's just like a G chord. It's just in a different place. Or that's just like an F chord. It's just in a different place. So you work on the top 20. How we talked about this in the actual session was you work on the top 20 like you would piano scales. This is your regular daily exercise. 5 minutes, go through the top 20. Do down strums maybe 4 times. Move on to the next chord. Go all the way through the top 20. You get to one that you can't do, you can't figure out. You got to work it. Work it. Stay with it for a little while. Figure out where your elbow, shoulder, wrist, hand needs to be to make that chord. And you're going to have to be creative about how you move your fingers around. Find the place, and then go back to the chord before it that you knew and could play well, and then go back and forth between the 2 chords. And then find the chord that's next beyond it, and go back and forth between the 3 chords. Don't worry about playing the whole set. Get used to that one chord that's a little bit difficult. And every time you go through your practice session and you get to those difficult chords, then go back and play those more often, more repetitively than you play the other chords. So, and then the other thing we talked about with these chords is look for those elegant connections. Look for how a G7 and an E minor 7 or an E7 is just moving your index finger. They look like 2 totally different chords, but they're just moving your index finger. So they're very closely aligned. A D to an A7 is just moving your middle finger up towards the top of the uke, 1 fret, and dropping your other fingers away. So it's no different in terms of movement or thought process than you have a G7 to a C and you're removing 2 fingers and you're sliding a C. There are going to be lots of cases where you've got a chord, you got to remove a couple fingers, and then you're going to slide somewhere. It's no big deal. Just look for those elegant connections. Some of the sessions we looked at the susses and how the C sus4 is just a way to add more interest to a series of C notes. So typically with your susses, you're either adding a finger or subtracting a finger from a chord that you've already formed. So G, taking out the bottom finger. Or adding in a pinky. So just take a look at those. Those don't necessarily have to be part of your top 20 routine. But it's good to start to get to know those because those will pop up in music quite often. And they're a great way if you're learning a new song and you've got a long run of C, you've got a long run of G, or a long run of F to make it more interesting. F gets much more interesting if you've got 3 or 4 Fs in a row when you pull off your top finger. Anyway, I think that's all we talked about with the top 20. Then there's the Craig Chi drill, which is just trying to keep minimal, like the Zen masters, and their minimal movement of motion before they poke you in the temple and knock you unconscious. You're just going like this and like this and like this and like this, and then boom, you're out like a light. Same thing with Craig Chi. You're going from C to G, minimal motion, to A minor to F, minimal motion, all fingers together, G7, minimal motion, E7. There's that simple move, up. A7, my middle finger slides over for A7, minimal movement. D7, I slide back and bracket it with 2 fingers and then lift off. And G. Ooh, G, I had to jump down there. There might have been something. The connecting finger for G was this bottom finger. I can slide that over and then drop in my other 2 fingers. Some of us talked about the sneaky C-G connection, where you play a 2-fingered C. Not all sessions talked about this, but a 2-finger C, and use that middle finger to launch, the hidden finger to launch into G. C with 2 fingers to G, C with 2 fingers to G. So my middle finger is on the 2nd fret. It's just hidden back there. It's not bothering anybody. It's just waiting to be the pivotal finger to go to G. Really nice movement there. Simple, tight, just like a Zen master would do. Hide one finger, yes, grasshopper, hide one finger behind other finger. I don't do this very often. But anyway, that's a neat move there. And then we looked at all of the songs that were laid out after the top 20 ukulele chords. And that's if you get tired of using the top 20 as an exercise and it gets boring. And you start to just play them by rote because you played them so often, but you're not learning anything new. All of those songs show you how the chords would play out, how the sequence would be in some real songs. So you can play the same top 20 chords, but play them in the sequence of a real song. And again, the idea is do some down, up, and then go back to the top and do some downs. And then go back to the top and do some down, down, up, down, down. See if you can move from chord to chord with a real, more complicated strum, or the down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. And I think we've got one more section where we cover those strum patterns. And that'll be it for session 1. So thanks for hanging in there. One more section, and we'll talk to you momentarily.